Here's the thing, most coaches think you need a huge audience, a 10-step funnel, a full sales team, and all these fancy things to hit 100K day. But I was able to do that with just one vertical sales presentation. I went from making only 10 to 50K a month on a regular basis to having my first $100,000 day in net profit. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly step by step how we did that. I'm going to go over where the traffic came from. I'm going to go over the offer, and I'm also going to go over the vertical presentation, because if you're stuck in the 10 to 50K hamster wheel, this is how you get out. I was tired of just making good money, but never great money. So when I implemented this step by step, it transformed my business forever, and I will never go back to sales calls again. So tune in and let's get into it. Here's step by step how I was able to do 100K in a day in net sales. Okay, this is the anatomy of 100K day. You see, the first thing you need to realize is depending on the vehicle you use to make money, the prep time and the execution is different. For example, if you're selling digital products, 97 for 97 products, the prep time is creating a landing page that converts or a funnel that converts. If you are creating a sales page and doing sales calls, the prep time is all in your email sequence, in your VSL, hiring a sales team, managing the sales team, and all these things. And as somebody who had a sales team of 6 people, I was literally doing that day by day. But I knew that that's not what I wanted for my business. I wanted to make money in a very chill way, hit millions of dollars a year without the headache of being a crazy 10 million, $20 million CEO type of person. So step by step, this is the breakdown of how I was able to do 100K day with none of the guru stuff. Okay, even if you have a small audience, the first thing we need to focus on here, guys, is the offer. Okay, if you're watching this, you probably already have an offer that you're already selling or you're pitching. The reason why the anatomy of the 100K day focuses on the offer is because I noticed after doing over 15 of these vertical sales presentation is that if your offer doesn't have three particular type of things, it would usually fall flat. So I saw my conversion rate go from 8% to 20% to 40% with everything I added. At first, all I had was a coaching program, a course. That was it, okay? And it was an 8-week course, and I trained people. I said, here, you get instant access to the course, okay? And maybe you can have Q&A time, like one live call a week. That was only closing at 8%. No matter how hard I tried, I will always stay between the 8% closing ratio and the 12% closing ratio. Because I didn't know back then, and what I know now is that if you differentiate your offer type, even if you're teaching the same thing, if you offer a different experience, it's more valuable to the customer. So, what do I mean by that? So, if you are used to teaching your course over 8 weeks on Zoom, maybe you have them join you for a week in Mexico, a weekend in Mexico. Just for having them join you in Mexico, you can 10 times your price. So, my offer went from a 12K price point, okay, all the way to a 25K price point. And you would think my closing ratio would go down when I increase the price. But the opposite actually happened. My closing ratio actually doubled. I went from a 20% to a 40%. Why? Because I created a full on immersion event. So, what I would advise is that if your offer doesn't have some type of in person type of training, that's the first thing you want to do, okay? Because that experience with you, the founder, where they get to connect with you one on one, and where you get to help them with their problems in real time is more invaluable than anything you can ever offer. That's number one. Number two, the second thing you want to do is offer some type of live or weekly coaching, okay? Once or twice a week, depending on the type of offer you have. You want to make sure that the founders and the students are being in touch with you in one way or another. So I have a friend who has a 10-figure business doing over $10 million a year, and he has coaching calls, 5 coaching calls a week with different coaches. But he makes sure that he at least does one coaching call a week himself. Why? Because that in-person parameter is why they're buying. When you sold them, they bought because they wanted to hear from you. Not necessarily that you need to teach them everything, but they want to actually teach and feel you as a person and part of their offer. Because in the coaching space, what people are really buying is trust. What people are really buying is your certainty. And coaches, a lot of times, cannot have the same certainty you have unless they've had the same exact experiences you do. And even if so, they don't have the same perspective you do. There was a client that was telling me to say, Josh, I watch all the coaches in the program, but I just love the way you dance when you explain trading. For some reason, it makes it click to me more because I'm a dancer. Now, is that in any type of manual out there that that's how I should teach? No, but that's my personality, right? If you guys know me, you guys know I like to do a little jiggle, right? So that helped the students feel less pressure about the serious subject they were learning and have faster results. Okay, and number three, you're not selling information, you're selling transformation. And I know you've probably heard that before, but you have to think about it on a different way. What do I mean by that? When you're creating your coaching program, it's not about the stuff that's in it. You're going to get X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z. Those things are needed for people who are low ticket buyers. Once you're over 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, $20,000, people are looking for transformation. They're buying into your essence. They're buying into your confidence. They're buying into your certainty. They're buying into the fact that you know and you believe you can deliver them the result. I'll give you a perfect example. One of my coaches is Myron Golden. I remember I did his challenge for about $297 back then, and he sold us into his mastermind. It was literally one phone call with him. He did not tell us what was in it. I didn't know what pieces was coming in it. I didn't know how it would help. Nothing. He only said, "Do you want to make $1 million in the next year?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, you need to be in my $55,000 program." Okay. And that's with discounts. The full price is $155,000 a year. So I literally wired this man, well worth it till this day. Okay. That's how I was able to get these $1 million in a day award, six-figure day award. So this award right here, for example, it's a knife that you get after you've made over $100,000 in a day. So even though in this video I'm showing you how to make $100,000 in a day, there's videos on my page when I talk about what it means to make $1.5 million in a day. So the six-figure day actually, guys, is easy work. And that might sound crazy to you. Like, what do you mean by easy work? How is it easy? Because you've never experienced it before. Trust and believe. I remember when I was joining his coaching program and he told me about the six-figure day, and I was taking a picture with the prop knife, me and my partner, just hoping and praying that we would eventually get there one day, not knowing that literally 4 months later we will have our first $100,000 day. So take it from me when I say it's very achievable if you follow the right steps, which I'm showing you here step by step. The offer, number one, if your offer doesn't have some type of live training, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever, you need to add that. Number two, you need to increase the value of your program. I'm showing you how to do it by adding an in-person event. These are secrets that I learned over years of doing challenges and vertical presentations, guys. Number three, training, okay? You need to have some type of course or module, of course. And for those who are just beginning, who don't have a course yet, our first course, when we did this, we did it live. What did that mean? We told the students that, hey, we're going to teach this to you week by week over 8 weeks. You're going to have 1 hour a week with us, and we're going to teach you the lesson. And those lessons became the training and courses for future students. So we built after we sold. So if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I don't have a course yet, it doesn't matter. Sell first, build later. Okay. And I'm not telling you to build nonsense. Obviously, you want to build something of value, but you want to sell first, then build later. Okay. And then you want to offer transformation. Key thing, when I spoke to Marion, he said, "Do you want to know how to make $1 million in the next year?" The answer was yes. Okay, get my program. So you need to ask yourself, what problem does my offer actually solve? Forget all the little pieces. You get this, you get that, you get this. At the end of the day, at the end of your program, what is your student going to be able to do now that he wasn't able to do before? Is it the confidence in himself? Is it the technical skill in himself? Is it his ability or her ability to replicate himself? Those are key important things to the anatomy of a 100K day. The offer will do a lot of the selling for you. I'm telling you, I kept the offer the same, the audience the same, the conversion asset the same, but just by changing the pieces in the offer, my closing rate doubled. Okay. Number two, the audience. Here's the part I love to talk about. People say all the time, Josh, I don't have an audience. I've never done this before. One of my students, Wale, okay, he told me the same thing. He was a realtor, never done anything like this before. I showed him how to do his first challenge with only 4 people in it. He implemented the vertical presentation and he made $12,000 with 4 people in it. Okay. As a very brand new beginner, not doing this before. So if you think you need a huge audience to do this, you are wrong. You can do this with literally 5 to 10 people. Okay. Hitting 6 figure days, I've done that with less than 20 people in a room. It's very doable. Okay. And that's the key here. You want to be selling one to many. Get rid of your sales calls. Okay. If you look at the greatest presentations in history and the things that make the most money, okay, they are one to many presentations. For example, your musicians. Why do musicians go on tour? Because most of their money is made on tour. What is a tour? A one to many presentation. The artist is one person, he charges many people at the same time, and then he makes money. For example, businesses like Apple, Airbnb, they do a keynote event once a year where they announce their new iPhone and their products and they tell you to buy. That's a one to many presentation. Okay, webinars. Okay, that's a one to many presentation. But the reason why webinars are not the best choice for this is because they've been overutilized and they've been taught to be something that people should get for free. Here's the nugget for you: charge for your one to many presentation. I don't care if it's $7, I don't care if it's $47, I don't care if it's $297. I've actually charged $997 for my one to many presentations, which means for you to come and here, listen to me teach you about my subject matter for 5 days, I can charge you up to $1,000. Why do I do that? Because I know what I teach in those 5 days is worth up to 5 to 10,000. I just did one of these 2 months ago, and one of the students paid $297 to join. Okay. And literally at the end of the week, she was able to make 7,400. Matter of fact, I'm probably going to link her testimonial here so you can kind of hear it where she talks about it. Like, yeah, I literally paid 297, and in a week I made $7,500 in cash. Okay. Of course you're going to join my program. I just made you $7,500 in a week. What else is there to think about? The proof is in the pudding. That's why I charge for my one to many presentations, because they're not fluff. Okay, there are true actionable steps that if you use it, you will actually make money. And you need to do the same thing. Number three, I talked about this a little bit. Dynamic low ticket. That's what I mean by charging for your one to many presentations. The PDFs, ebooks, fill in the blank canvas, nonsense, 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 trash, trash, and more trash. Okay. Not knocking anybody's hustle, and that's cool for you if you want to do that. But those are what's called static low ticket products. A static low ticket product is a product that doesn't lead anywhere. You give it to them, they get it, they don't even consume it because it doesn't even solve a problem. You don't even do it the right way. And then that's the end of the sale. You close the loop. In marketing, in sales, and storytelling, okay, 3 key things. You want to make sure the loop is always open. So, dynamic low ticket products are what we do to lead to the vertical presentation. So, when we talk about vertical presentation systems, dynamic low ticket products to a vertical sales presentation leads to your 6 and 7 figure day. Okay. So if you're going to do, for example, like a challenge, which is a dynamic low ticket product, you can charge $97 for a 5 day training or $50 for a 3 day training. Or if you're going to do a webinar, you can charge $7 or $47. Okay. Not for free training, because I'm telling you guys, you want to attract the right people, and people who pay attention. There's actually a scripture in the book of Matthew, and I believe it says this. It says that Where the heart is, there your treasure is. So if you want somebody's heart to be in something, then you want to make sure they pay for it. Okay, not because you're being greedy or evil, because let's face it, $7 is not going to change your life in any way, shape, or form. But it gives them buy-in because you know, and I know your product can change your life. You do not want them messing around with stuff that's not going to help them. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, type of makes sense in the comment below. And number three, a conversion asset. Okay. This is what I love talking about, the vertical sales presentation, where we don't do any sales calls. We create one vertical presentation that closes people on demand. Now, before I talk about that, okay, if you want a link to the funnel that I used for my dynamic low ticket product, just drop a comment below, okay? And I will put that link inside the comment box of the YouTube video, okay? If we get 50 comments, I'm gonna drop that link below. So you guys can just copy and paste my whole dynamic funnel and not have to create it yourself, okay? Now, the conversion asset, great. This is where most people mess up. This is where if you're making 10 to 50K a month, this is why you're having difficulty scaling. Is because your conversion asset is slowing you down. One to one presentations have the limitation of time, which means for you to serve more and more people, to sell more and more people, you have to hire more and more closers, and your team have to get more and more and more and more. So it becomes such a headache that you don't want to deal with. The way to deal with that is to flip it on its head. You have one presenter, many people show up at a designated time, at a designated place, and then you help them. This has been done throughout history. Some of the greater speakers have done this, okay? And that's why it's called a vertical presentation. Not only because it's one to many, but it's based off the mirror effect. Write that down, okay? The mirror effect. The mirror effect was developed by an American psychologist called Robert Zaknoch, okay? And what he discovered is, AKA also called the familiarity principle, what he discovered is if you introduce somebody to your brand or to anything 5 times, not one, not two, not three, not four, it has to be at least 5 times, those people develop a preference to that thing. And here's the kicker, it doesn't matter whether that thing is negative or positive. So even if it was a painful experience or a bad experience, let's say you went to McDonald's and you had a bad experience, but just because you've seen it 5 times, you're going to keep going back. You're going to develop a preference towards it over time. That's why Coke, Pepsi, all these big guys keep showing you commercials. It's not that they're throwing away money, it's because they understand the familiarity principle. So, what you want to do is have a workshop where you teach people for 5 days in a row. That's why it's vertical, okay? Instead of teaching a 2, 3, 4, 5 hour webinar with a 7 day email sequence and sales call follow up on a horizontal scale over time, you have it on a vertical scale where you give them 1 hour a day for 5 days using persuasion, and then you sell them on a product that they wanted to buy anyways for a solution you wanted to help them solve that they were looking to get solved in the first place. That's why it works so well. Because when you combine psychology and persuasion, you get profits. I'm going to say that again. When you combine psychology and persuasion, you get profits. So what you want to do is schedule a week out of the month, okay? And again, if you want to kind of see how my setup is, my dynamic low ticket product for this, just comment the word vertical below and I will drop it if I get 50 comments. You just schedule 5 days out of your month. You get as many people in that as possible, and then you give them the vertical sales presentation. And this is actually what me and my company do. We actually help people develop a vertical sales presentation from scratch. We write it out with you and actually for you. We help you practice it and we help you pitch it, and we help you then get your first 6 figure day, 7 figure day like we did using this exact method. Not only a client like this, Glenda, okay, came to me. I literally helped her write her whole vertical sales presentation. and she had just under $1 million in one day using this exact method. Okay. Or my client here who wanted to speak on credit repair. Okay. He wanted to go do a presentation, and I gave him the framework so he could deliver it literally in a 2 hour speech, and it closed well over 5 figures in net profit doing this. And I have so many testimonials I can go over and over, but the main key is that the secret sauce is in your vertical presentation. You want to combine persuasion, guys, with knowledge to help clients convert. So if you need help with this, DM me below or book a call with me and my team, and we can actually see whether we can help you. If we will, we'll tell you. If not, we'll give you free resources to help you along the way. Chat soon.